So I hope you guys can hear me. I just went onto my channel and I saw that I haven't uploaded in 2 years. But I'm doing this video because you guys asked for it. It's regarding when and how I found out that my daughter's dad had passed away. And I asked you guys to send me questions just because I don't want this video to be all over the place. But I'm going to do my best to like stay on track and tell you guys the story, and hopefully it's not too long. But today marks a year since he passed away. It's been something I've been wanting to record this video for a long time, and it might sound crazy, but I've even practiced in my car by myself, like acting like I'm doing a video. But every time I do it, I start crying. So I'm hoping that, I know I'm gonna cry. I just hope it's not a lot through the video and I can tell you guys what happened. So I last saw Eric on July 29th, 2019. And I'm like super nervous to record this, but I've been wanting to do this for a while. But every time I tried doing it, I would cry, and I'm sure I'm gonna cry. I just hope it's not a lot through the video. So I last saw Eric on July 29th of 2019. And around that time, that month, I moved to another city. And I knew that I wasn't going to be running into him as much. So that last time that I saw him, I was saying bye to him, and I was telling him that for him to take care of himself and for him to try and get his life together. So after that, I would get messages from him here and there because he always checked up on Mia. That's my daughter's name. And he always checked up on me, like, to see how we were doing. And on August 18th, 2019, I was in my room with my daughter and my sister, and I get a message from one of his cousins who I hadn't talked to in a couple years. And she asks me how I'm doing. And so I replied to her and I tell her that I'm doing good. And I ask her how her and her kids are doing. And she then tells me, can you talk? And she automatically like calls me. So I go outside, like, to the front of my house, because I thought, I knew something was going on, but I suspected that maybe he was in jail, and that because he didn't have my number, she was calling to let me know, or that he was in the hospital for some reason. So we're on the phone, and she asks me if her aunt has called me, and her, meaning Eric's mom. And I'm like, no. Why? What's going on? And she like lets it out, and she tells me that Eric has passed away. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, how? Where? And I was like, when? And she's like, today. And in that moment, I couldn't process it. And my questions were like, are you sure it's him? Where is he? And she tells me that he was in California. And I was like, in California? Like, when did he leave? Like, why was he over there? So then she like confirms me that he had passed away, that they were on their way to let his mom know because she was at work, and that her mom was going on her way to identify the body. So from what I remember after this, I just remember screaming. No, like loud, like the neighbors could hear me, my sisters could hear me, and they were in the house. And so from what I remember, because I don't remember exactly like what I said and how I said it. I just remember ending the call, telling her if they could call me and let me know what their plans were. I just remember telling her to just let me know what they were gonna do. And so my sisters come out running and they're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm hanging up the phone and I'm like, Eric died. And in that time, my cousin was living with us. And so he was in the living room and I didn't want anybody to know. Like, if it would have been up to me, I wouldn't have even told my sisters. But I walked in, I came directly to my room. I was crying and we get into the room and my other sister who was with my daughter was like, what happened? And I couldn't even tell her because I was crying that much. And my sisters just said they called her to tell her that Eric died. And they're crying, I'm crying. Mia's kind of looking at us like, what's going on? And in that, in like those 10-20 minutes, my parents walk in because they had just come back from church. And my dad's like, what's going on? And so as soon as I saw my dad, I couldn't hold it. Like, I started sobbing, like crying like a little girl. And my sisters tell him, that Eric died. And so I just started sobbing and my dad was like, are you sure it's him? And I was like, yeah, that's what they're telling me. And in that moment, I was crying. So Mia comes up to me. And in that time, my daughter was only 3 years old. She comes up to me and I hug her and she starts crying like con un sentimiento that I can't even explain to you how. Like, nobody hurt her. Like, she hadn't fallen, nothing. She just started crying. And I just remember holding her and I was like crying so bad that I was like shaking. And I kind of like remembered that I was hugging her. So I like quickly like stopped, like I controlled myself. And my sisters took my daughter out of the room. And literally in that moment, his mom was calling me. And I answer the phone. And she asks me, oh, did they already tell you? And I was like, yeah, your niece just called me. And I automatically like get mad. Like, I get angry. I get like resentment starts to build super quickly. And I just start asking her questions like, why was he over there? Why did he go? Why didn't anybody tell me? Why didn't anybody call me? Like, I just started not going off on her, but just asking her. And she then tells me like why he was over there, who he was with. And she tells me that he was only supposed to be there for like 5 days and they were coming back. And I just tell her, let me know what you decide to do. And we hang up. And the whole day I was like right after, I messaged his cousin again, the one who had called me. And I was like, are you sure it's him? Like, are you guys sure it's him? And she's like, yeah, like, why would I be lying? But I just couldn't accept it. Like, I couldn't comprehend what was going on. So then maybe an hour or two later, I get a message on Facebook from his cousin who I've never met before. I didn't even know he knew about me or about my daughter. And he's like, hey, it's Eric's cousin. Can you give me a call? And I was like, yeah, where do I call you? So he gives me his phone number. And I go to the backyard, like away from my daughter, and I call him. And he's like, I'm so sorry that we have to speak under these conditions, but we're here at the hospital to identify the body. And again, I start sobbing and I'm like, are you guys sure it's him? Are you sure it's him? And he's like, yeah, we're here with the sheriff. My mom's here. We just saw him and it's him. And he had my name tattooed on one of his wrists. So I wanted him to lift up his hands and make sure that my name was there, just to for me to like finally accept it, I guess. And he couldn't do that. Like, they had already identified the body. And he was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I had just seen him this morning and we spoke briefly. He told me that they were doing good. And then I just left to work. And so I ask other questions, and he tells me. And then that day, like, I asked my sisters not to tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell, not even like my closest friends who like I talk to mostly every day. I didn't tell my comadre. Like, I didn't tell anybody. And even my cousin, like, I think he knew. I think he could tell that something was wrong. But I felt like if I said it, it would be real. So then on Monday, I obviously don't go to work. And I like got on Facebook and I saw that one of my friends had shared a GoFundMe page. And that GoFundMe page was one that Eric's cousin had created so that they could help with like the funeral service. And so at that moment, I felt like I had to say something, because like I knew people were going to start asking me questions. And so I first told my closest friends. I was just like, hey, like, I'm going to make a post. Eric passed away. I sent a message to my comadre as well. Like, people who were actively in my life, I let them know before. And I made a post and I started to get like all of these messages, like people calling me, people who I hadn't talked to in years calling me, telling me that they were there for me. A lot of people saying, I'm sorry for your loss. Like, I'm so sorry. And I like didn't want to open any of the messages. And that Sunday night, before everybody like found out, Eric's sister sent me a message and she was just checking in to see how I was doing. And I hadn't talked to her in a couple years either. And so then Tuesday comes by and I still don't go to work. Like, I didn't want to go out because I felt like I had this like sign on my forehead that said my daughter's father just passed away. And like, I just felt like everybody could see it. Like, I felt like if people saw me, they were gonna know. So I didn't go out. I didn't go out. I didn't go out till like Wednesday, I think, because I felt bad that, you know, Mia was here at home and she was just seeing me cry. I would try and hold it in until she went to sleep so that I could cry and I could just like let it out. But I remember on Wednesday I just took her to Chuck E. Cheese because I didn't know where to take her. And we got to Chuck E. Cheese and I sat down at a table and I just started crying. And I was like, you know what? I don't care if people see me. Like, you know, I'm just gonna cry. And so yeah, I was there and I was crying for a bit. I let her play for a bit. And then I brought her home. And then my dad was like, okay, like, you need to go back to work. Like, you need to continue with your life. And I just couldn't do it. Like, I just couldn't, like, just get up and, like, continue. Like, I know I had to go to work. Like, you know, I'm the only provider for my daughter. So, like, I knew at some point I had to go back. Um, so I went back, like 3 or 4 days later. And, when I was at work, like, I would be busy. So I wasn't thinking too much. Like, I'd go to the bathroom a couple of times because I would cry. But for the most part, like, I could keep it together. And, then that weekend, I went out with my parents, and I ran into a comadre of mine, and she saw me and automatically was like, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And I just started crying. Like, I just couldn't keep it together. And from that moment on, I stopped going to, like, my church. I stopped going to Tigard. I was still keeping in communication with his family to figure out what they were gonna decide to do. And I felt like I was okay, like I was kind of keeping it together. And then Mia started school. Mia started school like September 3rd or September 5th. And that was really hard because I had never left her with somebody else that was in my family. And the first day she stayed, like, she was totally fine. She was like, "Bye, Mom." And I was the one that was crying. But then the second day and the second day, and then until she stopped going because of COVID, she cried every single day because she didn't want to stay. So the times that I would leave her crying, I would drive to work and cry on my way to work because Eric was like my support system, like my parent support system, I guess. And so I would call him, like, if I was having a hard time, or if she just wasn't listening, or if I just, like, felt overwhelmed, I would call him. And so there was times where I would drive past the cemetery crying because I had just left her crying. And, like, there was nobody to tell me, like this is part of life. Like, she has to go to school. It's gonna be okay. I had nobody to argue with anymore. Like, he was like, my best friend for many years because I was with him for many years. And so to have to accept that I was never going to have that was really hard for me. Then her birthday came along in November. That was also hard. Then Christmas came along and she had the flu around that time. So it wasn't like a big deal. Like, I wasn't like crying like when her birthday, or like when I would drop her off at school. And then February came, and in February he turned 6 months. And that's when I really started to feel like the grieving part. I was getting like really depressed. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to be in my room. And like, if you personally know me, you know that doing my makeup for me is like my only me time. It's like I get in, I sit where my vanity's at, and I bring out my makeup, and I just sit there and I like get in my zone, and that's what helps me. But this time, like, not even my makeup was helping. Like, I didn't feel like picking up my makeup. I didn't feel like sitting at my vanity. I just thought that, like, the grieving period would had like an end date. Like, I thought it had like an expired date, and that one day I was gonna wake up and I was just gonna accept everything, and I was just gonna be okay with everything, and then I wasn't gonna feel sad anymore or hurt anymore. But that doesn't happen. I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to understand, trying to cope with things, and trying to push myself to uplift myself to, be the best mom that I can be. And in February, March was when I felt it the most. So last month, I finally called my therapist, and I set an appointment, and I spoke to her, and she just told me that I need to, let myself feel. Like, I need to accept my feelings and just let them out, and just, you know, because I was going through this moment where one day I would wake up and I'd miss him so much, and I would cry for him, and I was like, I just want to hug you, like, I just want to see you one last time. And then, like, the next day I would wake up and I was like, why did you leave? Why did you, like, all of my resentment would come up, and I would just be like, why did you leave? Why did you leave me here to deal with this stuff? Like, why did you have to do this to me and Mia? Like, and then another day, like, would come by, and I would, like, question Jesus, and I'd question God, and I'd be like, why did you write this page in my book, in my story? Like, why am I going through this? Like, I've been through a lot. Um, and I just wanted answers, and I wanted to know if he suffered. I wanted to know if he thought about us. I wanted to know every single little detail of how things happened. I wanted to know. And it's been quite a journey. Speaking to the therapist helped. She told me that something that could help was for me to write him, like, several letters, like one of resentment, one of, like, me being mad, one of me telling him how much I loved him, and to just take them to the cemetery and burn him there as a form of, like, letting go. And I haven't done it, but every time I go, I sit there and talk to him, and I talk to him in my car. I talk to him in my room, because I feel like, when I'm alone, I think a lot about different things. So I'm like, before, when he was alive, he couldn't physically be here, so he couldn't see, like, me as milestones, or like her going to school, or like everything that I have to deal with as a single parent. But now I feel like he can see everything, and he can somewhat see, what my life is with her as a single parent, and everything that I do have to go through, everything that I do to provide for her. And I am trying my best to give her the life, like, the best life I can, and a better life than what me and her dad had. Like, I definitely want her to have a lot of things that we didn't have. So I'm still learning. I'm still going through it. I'm still learning to just validate my feelings, and, accept that he's not here physically, but I feel like he's with us at all times. He's visited me in my dreams a couple of times. I remember when he first passed away, I would tell him, like, visit me, like, come, like, I need to know that you're okay. And I would wake up, and, like, I wouldn't dream of him. So I would tell him over and over again, until finally one day I had a dream, and he was in my dream, and it felt like the most realist thing ever. And I remember that my dream ended because I was telling him, this isn't real. Like, you died. You died, and this isn't real. Like, right now, this is not real. We were in my car, in my old car. And I remember him, like, stopping him because we were going to drop off my mom at my grandma's house. And I remember telling him, like, stop. I was like, I need to tell you something. And he was like, what? And I was like, this isn't real. Like, you died. You died already. So this isn't real. Like, all of this is not real. And I miss him. I miss him so much. Um, you know, we go visit him all the time. I'm gonna keep my word and make sure that Mia knows about him and knows of him. You know, that I tell her, like, our love story, um, all the funny things, that I show her all the letters he wrote me. I have everything. I have the first ticket to the first movie we went to see together, all the letters he wrote to me in high school, all the drawings he did for me, this necklace that I wear all the time in all my pictures. This necklace he gave to me when we were 2 months into our relationship. So I had taken it off for a couple years, but after he passed away, I put it back on. And when Mia's old enough, I'm going to give it to her. And I have, like, tons of pictures of him, videos of him telling me he loves me. And yeah, I wanted to share, like, my story of what I've been through and, like, what I thought grieving was. I don't know if I covered everything, but if I didn't, send me a DM or just list the questions below and I'll answer them. Because I've been through a lot. You know, there's other sides. There's a lot of things that have happened that a lot of people don't know. And I don't know if I'm comfortable enough to talk about them. But, you know, someday I will. I want to really get back on here and just do what I like. I want to get back into feeling like myself. I want to find something that really helps me be me again, because I haven't felt like myself in a long time. And I'm definitely a super homebody now. Like, I'd rather be in my house and not go out. But I also push myself because I know that that's not good for my daughter. And the big reason why I get up every day and I push myself, and even when I'm feeling like really down or depressed, like, I tell myself, like, hey, okay, you have your own feelings, but your daughter needs you. So I get up. And I take her out. We go to the beach. We go to the river. She's like my biggest motivation. And I want to make her dad proud. You know, I know that he trusts me enough and knows that I'm doing the best that I can. But I hope I didn't cry too much in the video. And I hope you guys like it. I don't post too much things about my daughter on my makeup page on Instagram, but I think there's like 1 or 2 pictures on there. She definitely is her dad's twin. But yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I hope it helps. Leave me your questions and I can either do like another video or just answer them individually. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope I didn't make you guys cry.